I went to my doctor for a routine physical, standard checkup. The doctor looked confused, said my test results were unusual, said my biological markers suggested I was aging backwards, that my cells looked younger than they had 5 years ago, that my organs were in better shape, that by all medical measures, I was younger at 70 than I'd been at 65. I thought he was joking, but he was serious, showed me the test results, compared them to my previous physicals. Everything showed the same thing. I was aging in reverse, getting younger. It was happening slowly, maybe 1 year younger for every 2 years that passed, but it was measurable, undeniable, impossible, but real. The doctor wanted to study me, wanted to run more tests, wanted to understand how this was happening, but I was scared, started thinking about implications. If I was aging backwards, how far back would it go? Would I become middle-aged again? Young? A child? A baby? Would I eventually cease to exist? Before we get into how this impossible situation began, I need to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments right now. Just your city, because what happened to me, this biological impossibility that defied everything we know about aging and time, it raises questions that affect all of us. Questions about aging, about mortality, about what we'd do if we could turn back the clock. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button. These stories need to be told. Stories that push the boundaries of what's possible. Stories that make you question reality. Stories that might change how you think about growing old. Now let me tell you how I discovered I was getting younger instead of older, and why that terrified me more than dying ever did. My name is William. I'm 70 years old, or at least that's how many years I've been alive. But according to my doctor, my body is 66, and getting younger. I live alone in a small house, been retired for 8 years, worked as an accountant for 40 years before that. Normal life, normal career, normal everything, until 5 years ago when something changed. Something in my biology, something that started reversing the aging process, turning back time inside my body while the calendar kept moving forward. My wife Dorothy died 12 years ago. Cancer. She was 62. We'd been married for 37 years, had 2 children, Karen and Michael, both adults now with families of their own. Karen was 45, lived about an hour away. Michael was 42, lived across the country. We talked regularly, saw each other on holidays. Normal family relationships, nothing remarkable. I'd always been healthy, never had major medical problems, never been hospitalized except for a broken arm when I was 43. Took a fall, simple fracture, healed normally. Other than that, I'd been lucky. Good health, good genes. My father had lived to 88, my mother to 91. I'd expected to live a long life, expected to age normally, expected to follow the same path everyone follows, get older, get weaker, eventually die. The normal human trajectory. But something had gone wrong, or right, depending on how you looked at it. 5 years ago, something had changed. Some switch had flipped in my biology, and instead of aging forward, I'd started aging backward, slowly, gradually. So slowly I hadn't noticed at first. But it was happening. Measurable, real, impossible but undeniable. The first sign had been 5 years ago. I'd gone for my regular annual physical, just a checkup, making sure everything was working. The doctor had run the standard tests, blood work, blood pressure, cholesterol, all the routine measurements. When the results came back, the doctor had seemed pleased, said everything looked good, actually said everything looked better than my previous year, said my cholesterol was down, my blood pressure was better, my kidney function was improved, said whatever I was doing, I should keep doing it. I hadn't been doing anything different. Same diet, same activity level, same lifestyle, but I'd felt good, had noticed I had more energy, felt stronger, felt better than I had the previous year. I'd assumed it was just natural variation. Some years you feel better than others. Didn't think much about it. The next year, same thing. Annual physical. Results even better. Doctor seemed surprised. Said my numbers were improving again. Said I had the blood work of someone 10 years younger. Said my organ function was excellent. Said I was aging remarkably well. I'd been pleased. Thought I was just lucky. Just had good genetics. Just was one of those people who aged well. But the 3rd year, the doctor started asking questions. Asked if I'd changed my diet, started exercising more, started taking supplements, done anything different that would explain the continued improvement. I said no, nothing had changed. I was living the same quiet, retired life I'd been living for years. The doctor had seemed puzzled, but pleased. Said it was unusual but not unheard of. Said some people just had good years. Said to keep doing whatever I was doing. The 4th year, The doctor's tone changed. He'd compared my results to previous years, laid them out in a chart, showed me a clear trend, everything improving, year after year, blood pressure dropping, cholesterol improving, organ function getting better, biological markers all trending younger. The doctor said this wasn't normal, said improvement was one thing, but consistent improvement year after year wasn't typical. Said he wanted to run more comprehensive tests, wanted to understand what was happening. I'd agreed, curious now, wondering why my body seemed to be defying normal aging. The comprehensive tests came back. Everything confirmed what the basic tests had shown. My body was functioning like someone younger than my chronological age. My cells showed less damage. My organs showed less wear. Everything suggested I was biologically younger than I should be. The doctor had referred me to a specialist, a gerontologist who studied aging. The specialist ran even more tests, looked at my telomeres, the caps on the ends of chromosomes that shorten as we age. Mine were longer than they should be for someone my age, longer than they'd been 5 years ago based on estimates. My telomeres were growing, lengthening, the opposite of what should happen. The specialist had been fascinated, said this was extraordinary, said telomere lengthening didn't happen naturally in humans, said this suggested cellular rejuvenation, actual reversal of aging at the cellular level. He'd wanted to study me, wanted to run more tests, wanted to understand the mechanism, wanted to figure out how this was possible. That's when I'd started to get scared, started to understand the implications. I wasn't just aging well, I was aging backwards. My body was getting younger while time moved forward, and nobody knew why. Nobody knew how. Nobody knew if it would continue, or where it would end. The specialist asked about my medical history, about any treatments I'd had, any medications, any procedures, anything that might explain cellular rejuvenation. I told him about the broken arm 43 years ago, the only medical event in my life. He'd asked more questions. Where had it happened? What hospital? What treatment? I'd broken my arm in 1982. I was 43, had fallen off a ladder while cleaning gutters. Simple accident. Had driven myself to the hospital. They'd x-rayed it, set it, put it in a cast, gave me pain medication, sent me home. 6 weeks later, the cast came off. Arm healed perfectly. Never had problems with it. Normal healing. Normal outcome. The specialist asked which hospital. I told him. He made notes, asked if I remembered anything unusual about the treatment. Any experimental procedures, any research studies, anything out of the ordinary. I said no, just standard treatment. Just a normal broken arm. Nothing special. But the specialist seemed interested. Said 1982 was an interesting year. Said there'd been experimental work on growth factors and healing back then. Said some hospitals had been involved in research, testing new treatments. He said he'd look into it, see if that hospital had been doing any studies, see if there was any connection. I went home that day feeling strange, feeling like my body had betrayed me, had done something impossible, something that should have been good but felt terrifying. Because if I was aging backwards, where would it stop? When would it stop? Would I keep getting younger until I was middle-aged? Until I was young? Until I was a child? Until I was a baby? Until I ceased to exist? I started researching, reading about aging, about cellular processes, about what made bodies grow old, about whether reversal was possible. Most of what I read said no, said aging was a one-way process, said cells accumulated damage over time, said telomeres shortened, said organs wore out, said there was no natural mechanism for reversal, for going backwards, for undoing decades of aging. But my body was doing it anyway, was defying what science said was possible, was running the aging process in reverse, slowly, gradually, but consistently, for 5 years now, maybe longer. Maybe it had started before I'd noticed. Maybe it had been happening for a decade. Maybe I'd been getting younger for years without realizing it. I called Karen, my daughter, told her about the test results, about the doctor's confusion, about the aging backwards. She thought I was joking at first, laughed, said I wished, said everyone wished they could age backwards, then realized I was serious. Her tone changed, got concerned, asked if I was okay, if something was wrong, if I was sick. I told her I wasn't sick. That was the problem. I was too healthy, was healthier than I'd been 5 years ago, 10 years ago, was improving instead of declining, was aging in the wrong direction. Karen said that was good news, said I should be happy, said most people would kill to age backwards, said I was lucky, but I told her I was scared, told her about the implications, about where this might lead. about what might happen if it continued. Karen got quiet, started to understand, started to see why this wasn't just good news, started to see the terrifying possibilities. She asked what the doctors said, what they recommended, what the plan was. I told her they wanted to study me, wanted to run more tests, wanted to understand the mechanism, wanted to figure out if it could be stopped or controlled, or whether I'd just keep getting younger until something terrible happened. Karen said she'd come visit, said we should talk about this in person, said she wanted to see me, wanted to understand what was happening, wanted to help figure this out. I appreciated that, appreciated having someone to talk to, someone who cared, someone who could help me process this impossible situation. Michael was harder to tell. He lived far away. We weren't as close. Talked maybe once a month. I called him, explained the situation. He was skeptical, said it sounded impossible, said doctors made mistakes, said test results were wrong sometimes, said I should get a second opinion, maybe a third, maybe the lab had mixed up my samples with someone else's. I told him multiple doctors had confirmed it, multiple tests over multiple years, all showing the same thing, all trending the same direction. This wasn't a lab error. This wasn't a mistake. This was real. Michael said he didn't understand how that was possible, said it violated basic biology, said humans didn't age backwards, said there must be an explanation, some medical condition, some treatment I'd forgotten about, something that made sense. But there was no explanation, no medical condition that caused aging reversal, no treatment that could do this, no rational scientific explanation for what was happening to my body, just the undeniable evidence that I was getting younger while time moved forward. The specialist called 2 weeks later, said he'd researched the hospital where I'd broken my arm, said in 1982 that hospital had been involved in research, experimental treatments for bone healing, testing growth factors, trying to speed up fracture recovery. The research had been discontinued after a few years. Results weren't significant enough to continue, but for a brief period, they'd been testing a treatment, an injection of growth factors directly into fracture sites, trying to accelerate healing. The specialist asked if I'd received any injections when they'd set my arm, any treatments beyond the standard cast and pain medication. I tried to remember. 1982 was 43 years ago, but I did remember something. Remember a doctor asking if I wanted to participate in a study, said they were testing a new treatment, said it might help my arm heal faster, said it was safe, was just growth factors, natural substances that helped cells regenerate. I'd agreed, figured why not. If it helped my arm heal faster, great. If it didn't, no harm done. They'd given me an injection, right into the fracture site. Hurt like hell, but they'd said it was normal. Said the growth factors needed to be at the injury site to work. Said it would help. My arm had healed well, healed fast actually. Doctor had been pleased. Said the bone looked great. Said the treatment had worked. I'd forgotten about it. Hadn't thought about it in 40 years. Just filed it away as a minor detail of a minor injury. The specialist said that might be it. Might be the cause. Said those growth factors could have triggered something. Some cellular response. Some change in how my cells functioned. Said growth factors affected telomeres, affected cellular division, affected aging processes. Said if the treatment had altered something fundamental, it might have been dormant for years. Might have only started manifesting decades later. Might explain why I'd started aging backwards at 65 instead of immediately after the treatment. But he said it was just a theory. Said they'd need to study me to confirm. Said they'd need to understand the mechanism. Said they'd need to figure out if it was truly the growth factors or something else. Something unique to me. Some genetic quirk, some biological anomaly, something that made me different, made me special, made me age backwards. I agreed to more tests. Went to the research facility. They drew blood, lots of blood, took tissue samples, ran scans, measured everything they could measure. The researchers were excited, said this was unprecedented, said if they could understand the mechanism, it could revolutionize medicine, could lead to treatments for aging, could extend human lifespan, could change everything. But I didn't care about revolutionizing medicine, didn't care about changing the world, just wanted to understand what was happening to me, wanted to know if it would stop, wanted to know if I could control it, wanted to know if I'd keep getting younger until I disappeared. The researchers said it would take time, said they needed to analyze the data, needed to compare my results to normal aging patterns, needed to build models, needed to understand the biology, said it might take months, maybe years, but they'd figure it out. They'd understand what was happening. they'd help me. In the meantime, I had to live with it. Had to live with knowing my body was running backwards. Had to live with the uncertainty. Had to live with not knowing where this ended, or if it ended, or what happened when I reversed past birth, past conception, past existence. Karen visited the next month, said she wanted to see me, wanted to see if I looked different, wanted to see if the aging reversal was visible. I'd been wondering the same thing, had been studying myself in the mirror, trying to see if I looked younger, trying to notice changes. But it was hard. Hard to see gradual changes in yourself. Hard to notice when you look at your face every day. Karen said I looked good, said I looked healthy, said maybe I did look a little younger, fewer wrinkles maybe, skin a little tighter, eyes a little brighter, but she wasn't sure, said it could be her imagination, said it could be the power of suggestion, said she was looking for changes so she was seeing them. We talked about what it meant, about the implications, about what would happen if the aging reversal continued. Karen asked if I was scared. I said yes, said I was terrified, said I didn't know what would happen, didn't know where this led, didn't know if I'd just keep getting younger until I ceased to exist. Karen asked if I'd considered that maybe it would stop, maybe there was a limit, maybe I'd reverse to a certain age and then stabilize, maybe I'd end up biologically 50 or 40 or 30 and just stay there, just live as a younger version of myself. That would be good, wouldn't it? That would be like winning the lottery, getting to live more years, getting to have more time. But I told her I didn't think it worked that way. Didn't think biological processes just stopped arbitrarily. If my cells were reversing, they'd keep reversing, unless something stopped them, unless there was a mechanism to halt the process. And the doctors hadn't found one, hadn't found any way to control it, hadn't found any way to stop it. Karen asked what I'd do if it didn't stop, if I kept getting younger, if I eventually became a child, a baby. What would happen then? Who would take care of me? I said I didn't know, hadn't thought that far ahead. Hadn't let myself imagine that scenario. It was too disturbing, too impossible, too much like science fiction. But Karen made me think about it, made me confront the possibility, made me consider what would happen if the worst case came true. If I kept aging backwards until I was a child, would I keep my memories? Would I remember being 70, being an adult, having a career, having children? Or would my mind reverse too? Would I lose decades of memories as my body got younger? Would I eventually become an infant with no memory of ever being an adult? The thought was terrifying, more terrifying than dying. Death was natural. Death was expected. Death was the end everyone reached. But this was something else. This was unnatural, unexpected, unknown. This was reversing through life toward some impossible destination. This was potentially losing everything I was, everything I'd experienced, everything that made me who I was. 6 months passed. The researchers called, said they had results, said they'd analyzed my cells, had compared them to normal aging patterns, had built models of what was happening, said they understood the mechanism, at least partially, said the growth factors from that injection 43 years ago had altered something fundamental in my cells, had changed how my telomeres functioned, had created a feedback loop, a process that normally shortened telomeres was running in reverse, was lengthening them, was restoring them to earlier states. The researchers said this affected everything, affected how my cells divided, how they repaired damage, how they functioned, said my cells were behaving like younger cells, were rejuvenating, were reversing decades of accumulated damage, said it was extraordinary, was unprecedented, was impossible but real. But they also said they couldn't stop it, couldn't control it, couldn't find a way to halt the process, said the feedback loop was self-sustaining, said it would continue until something external interrupted it, said I'd keep aging backwards, keep getting younger, keep reversing until something changed. I asked how far back it would go, asked if there was a limit, asked if I'd reverse to a certain age and stop. The researchers said they didn't know, said they had no data, no precedent, no way to predict, said theoretically the process could continue indefinitely, could reverse through childhood, through infancy, through birth, through conception, could potentially reverse me out of existence. That was the first time someone had said it out loud, had confirmed my worst fear. I could potentially reverse out of existence, could age backwards past birth, past conception, could reach a point where I'd never existed, where my cells would be so young they'd cease to be me, would cease to be human, would cease to be anything. The researchers said it probably wouldn't happen that fast, said the reversal was slow, Said at the current rate, I'd take maybe 80 years to reverse back to birth. Maybe longer. Said I'd have time. Said they'd keep studying. Keep looking for a way to stop it. Keep trying to understand the mechanism. Keep trying to find a cure. But 80 years wasn't comforting. 80 years meant I'd be biologically 10 years old when I was chronologically 90. Would be a biological infant when I was chronologically 110. Would cease to exist sometime around 150. Would reverse through birth, through conception, through existence. Would disappear unless they found a way to stop it, unless they found a cure, unless something interrupted the process. But they had no leads, no ideas, no solutions, just hopes and theories and continued research. I went home that day feeling numb, feeling like I'd been given a death sentence. But worse than death, death was an ending. This was an unmaking. This was reversing through life until I'd never been, until I'd never existed, until everyone who'd known me would lose me in a way that was stranger than death, would watch me get younger, would watch me become a child, would watch me disappear into non-existence. I didn't tell Karen right away, didn't tell Michael, didn't tell anyone, just sat with the knowledge, sat with the fear, sat with the understanding that I was on a path that led to something worse than death, something impossible, something that shouldn't be possible, but was. A year passed. I was 71 chronologically, 65 biologically based on the tests, 6 years younger than I should be. The reversal was accelerating slightly, was happening a little faster than before. The researchers said that was expected, said the feedback loop was strengthening, said the process was becoming more efficient, said I'd reverse faster as time went on. I started noticing physical changes, not just in test results, in my body, in how I looked. I could see it now, could see that I looked younger. My skin was tighter, my wrinkles were fading, my hair was getting darker, less gray, more of the brown it had been when I was younger. My body was stronger, had more muscle, more energy, more vitality. People started commenting, started saying I looked good, started asking what my secret was, what I was doing to look so young. I made up excuses, said I'd been exercising more, eating better, taking supplements. People believed it, told me I was an inspiration, told me I should write a book, share my secrets, help other people age as well as I was aging. I smiled and thanked them. Didn't tell them the truth. Didn't tell them I wasn't aging well. I was aging backwards, and it was killing me, just slowly, in reverse, in a way that would eventually erase me from existence. Karen noticed the changes when she visited for the holidays, said I looked different, looked significantly younger than last time she'd seen me, said it was striking, said she could see it now, could see the reversal, could see that this was real, could see that I was actually getting younger. She asked how I felt about it, how I was coping. I told her I was scared, told her the researchers couldn't stop it, told her I'd keep getting younger, keep reversing, keep moving toward that impossible endpoint. Karen started crying, said it wasn't fair, said this should have been a good thing, should have been a gift, should have been extra years, extra life, but instead it was this curse, this countdown to non-existence. I told her the researchers were still looking, still trying, still hoping to find a solution, but I could see in her face she didn't believe they'd find one, could see she understood what I understood, that this was happening, that it wouldn't stop, that I was on an irreversible path towards something terrible. Michael visited a few months later. First time in years he'd made the trip. Karen had told him about the changes, about how visible the reversal had become, about how I was noticeably younger. He'd wanted to see for himself, wanted to confirm it was real. When he saw me, his face went pale, said I looked like I'd looked 20 years ago, said the change was dramatic, said it was impossible but undeniable. We talked for hours, about what was happening, about what it meant, about what would happen to me. Michael asked if I was in pain, if the reversal hurt. I said no. Physically, I felt better than I'd felt in decades, felt strong, felt healthy, felt young. It was my mind that hurt, my awareness of what was happening, my knowledge of where this led. Michael asked what he could do, how he could help. I said just be here, just be family, just stay connected, because eventually I'd need help. Eventually I'd be too young to care for myself. Eventually I'd need someone to take care of me as I reversed through childhood, through infancy, through birth, would need family to be there, to witness, to remember, to mourn. 5 more years passed. I was 76 chronologically, 58 biologically based on the tests, 18 years younger than I should be. The reversal had accelerated, was happening faster now, was taking me backwards at a rate of almost 2 biological years for every chronological year. The researchers said this was consistent with their models, said the feedback loop was strengthening, said the process was becoming more efficient, said I'd reverse even faster going forward. I looked like I'd looked in my late 50s. People who'd known me before didn't recognize me at first, had to look twice, had to confirm it was really me. I'd started telling people I'd had work done, plastic surgery, age-reversing treatments. They believed it, said I looked amazing, said I should tell them my surgeon. They wanted the same results. I didn't tell them there was no surgeon, no treatments, just an impossible biological process, just cells running backwards, just time reversing inside my body while the world moved forward around me. Karen and Michael visited regularly now. Both lived with the knowledge that I was disappearing, that I was reversing toward non-existence, that they'd lose me in a way that was stranger and harder than normal death. They'd started taking photos, documenting the changes, recording what I looked like at different stages, creating a visual record of the reversal, of time running backwards, of the impossible made real. I'd started writing things down, memories, experiences, things I wanted to remember, things I wanted preserved, because I didn't know if my mind would reverse too, didn't know if I'd lose memories as my body got younger, didn't know if I'd eventually forget being old, forget being an adult, forget my entire life. I wanted something written, something preserved, something that would exist even if I didn't. The researchers had published papers about me, anonymously, said there was a subject experiencing biological age reversal, said it appeared to be linked to growth factor treatments from decades earlier, said the mechanism involved telomere lengthening and cellular rejuvenation, said it was unprecedented, said it raised profound questions about aging and mortality, said it could revolutionize medicine if they could understand and control it, but they couldn't control it, couldn't stop it, couldn't even slow it down, just watched, studied, documented, as I reversed through decades, as I got younger while time moved forward, as I approached whatever waited at the end of this impossible journey. 10 more years passed. I was 86 chronologically, 40 biologically. I looked like I'd looked in my early 40s, looked like I'd looked when Karen and Michael were children, looked like pictures of myself from decades ago. It was surreal, was impossible, was real. People who'd known me before had stopped recognizing me, thought I was someone else. My old friends didn't know who I was. My neighbors treated me like a stranger. I'd essentially become a different person, someone younger, someone who looked nothing like the old man I'd been, someone reversing through time while everyone else aged normally. Karen was 60. Michael was 57. They looked older than me now, looked like they could be my parents rather than my children. The reversal of our relationship was strange, difficult, hard to process. I was their father, but I looked like their son, was older in years but younger in biology, was their parent but looked like their child. Karen had started preparing, started researching what would happen as I got younger, started planning for when I'd be too young to care for myself, started understanding that eventually I'd need care, would need someone to take responsibility, would need family to step in. She'd talked to Michael. They'd agreed they'd care for me, would take turns, would make sure I was okay, would be there as I reversed through childhood, through infancy, through whatever came next. I appreciated their commitment, their love, their willingness to face this impossible situation. But I also felt guilt, felt like I was burdening them, felt like I was putting them through something no children should have to experience, watching their father get younger, watching him reverse through life, watching him disappear. The reversal continued. Faster now. I was 50, then 45, then 40. My body was strong, young, healthy. I could run, could lift, could do things I hadn't been able to do in decades. Physically, I was in the best shape of my life, was experiencing a second youth, was living through physical prime again, but my mind was older, was tired, was struggling with the knowledge of what was happening, was carrying 90 years of memories and experiences in a body that was 40, was an old man trapped in a young body, was reversing toward childhood while mentally remaining an adult. The disconnect was exhausting, was disorienting, was making it hard to maintain identity, hard to know who I was, hard to reconcile what I knew with what I looked like. 5 more years. I was 91 chronologically, 30 biologically. Looked like I'd looked in my 30s. Looked like pictures of myself when Karen and Michael were babies. when Dorothy and I were young parents, when life had been ahead of me instead of behind me. The reversal had taken me back to youth, back to physical prime, back to a body that was young and strong and healthy. But Karen was 65, Michael was 62, both retired now, both grandparents, both old enough to be my parents based on how we looked. The role reversal was complete. I looked like their son, they looked like my parents, but I was still their father, still carried those memories, still had that identity even though everything else said otherwise. Karen had retired early to care for me, had moved in with me, had taken over my house, had started managing my life as I got younger, started treating me like a child because soon I would be one, started preparing for the inevitable, for what came next, for when I'd be too young to be independent, too young to make decisions, too young to care for myself. I was 30, then 25, then 20. The researchers said the reversal was still accelerating, said I'd hit teenage years soon, then childhood, then infancy, said the end point was approaching, said within another decade I'd reverse past birth, would cease to exist, would disappear into non-existence. Karen was crying more now, was grieving, was losing her father in slow motion, was watching me get younger day by day, was watching me reverse toward childhood, toward infancy, toward the impossible end. Michael visited every weekend, both of them spending time with me, making memories, saying goodbye in slow motion, preparing for the loss that was coming. I was 18, biologically, looked like a teenager, felt like a teenager physically, but mentally I was 93, was carrying almost a century of memories, almost a century of experiences, almost a century of life, but my body was 18, was young, was adolescent. The disconnect was total, was complete, was making it impossible to maintain identity, making it impossible to know who I was. Then I started losing memories, not all at once, just gradually, started forgetting details, started losing specifics, started finding gaps in my past. The researchers said this was expected, said as my brain got younger, it lost capacity, lost the neural connections that held memories, lost the ability to maintain decades of information, said I'd keep losing memories as I got younger, would eventually lose everything, would become an infant with no memories, no awareness, no identity beyond what existed in that moment. That was when I truly understood, truly accepted. This wasn't just physical reversal, this was total reversal. Mind and body, memories and identity, everything was going backwards. Everything was being unmade. I wasn't just getting younger, I was being erased, was being unmade, was disappearing piece by piece, memory by memory. Year by year, Karen saw the memory loss, saw me forgetting, saw me losing pieces of myself. She started recording everything, started video recording our conversations, started documenting my memories before they disappeared, started preserving what would soon be lost, started creating a record of who I'd been, of the life I'd lived, of the person I was before the reversal erased me completely. I was 16, biologically, 94 chronologically. I'd forgotten my childhood, had forgotten being young the first time, had lost those early memories to the reversal, had lost Dorothy's death, had lost retirement, had lost the last years of my career. The memories were gone, erased, unmade by the reversal. By time running backwards through my brain, Karen showed me videos of Dorothy, of our life together, of our children, of decades I could no longer remember. I watched like I was watching a stranger's life, watched events I'd lived through but no longer remembered, watched myself in those videos, a younger version, an older version, a different person than who I was now, someone who'd existed but who I could no longer access, could no longer remember being. I was 14, then 12, then 10, a child now in body and mind. Karen had taken full custody, had become my legal guardian, had made arrangements. I no longer understood what was happening, no longer understood the reversal, just knew Karen was taking care of me, just trusted her, just lived as a 10-year-old boy lives, playing, learning, being a child for the second time, but without memories of the first time, without awareness of the 95 years I'd already lived, without knowledge that I was disappearing. Karen told me later I'd been happy as a child, had played, had laughed, had enjoyed simple things, had lived in the moment without the burden of knowing what was happening, had been blissfully unaware that I was reversing, that I was being unmade, that I was approaching the end. I was 8, then 6, then 4, a toddler now, no longer attending school, no longer capable of complex thought, just being, just existing, just living moment to moment. Karen cared for me full time. Michael helped, both of them grieving, both of them losing their father, both of them watching me disappear into childhood, into infancy, into non-existence. I was 2, then 1, an infant now. No memories, no awareness, no identity beyond the immediate moment. Just a baby, just beginning for the second time, but heading toward the end instead of the beginning, heading toward birth in reverse, heading toward conception, heading toward the moment I'd cease to exist. Karen held me, fed me, cared for me, loved me, knowing I'd soon be gone, knowing the reversal would take me past birth, past conception, past existence, knowing she'd lose me completely, lose not just her father but any remaining trace of who I'd been, would watch me literally disappear, would witness something impossible, would experience a grief that no one should have to experience. The researchers monitored everything, documented everything, took measurements, took samples, studied the reversal as it approached its endpoint. They said I was approaching birth, said I'd reverse past it soon, said they still didn't know what would happen, said I might just cease to exist, might disappear, might be unmade completely, or might continue reversing, might go back through gestation, through conception, through some impossible state that preceded existence. Karen held me, 1 month old now, smaller each day, younger each day, the reversal accelerating as it approached its conclusion. The researchers said it would be soon. Days, maybe hours, said the reversal would take me past birth, past the moment I'd first existed, past the threshold of life, and they didn't know what would happen next. I'm told Karen was with me when it happened, holding me, watching, waiting. I was days old now, newborn, fresh, new, but reversing still, getting younger still, getting smaller still, moving toward that impossible moment, that threshold, that end point. Karen said I got smaller, said my features became less defined, said I began to look less like a baby and more like something else, something prenatal, something that shouldn't exist outside a womb. The researchers were there, watching, documenting, recording the impossible, recording the end point of a reversal that had taken 97 years of life and run it backwards. Karen said I kept getting smaller, kept reversing, kept moving backward through development, through the stages of gestation, through the weeks before birth, through time that should only move forward but was running backward. She said she could see me changing, could see me becoming less defined, less formed, less real, could see me literally disappearing, literally being unmade, literally reversing out of existence. The researchers said the reversal continued past birth, past newborn, into prenatal states, into forms that became smaller, less complex, less developed. They said I reversed through months of development, through weeks, through days. They documented everything, every stage, every moment, every impossible change as time ran backwards through my biology. Karen said she held me as long as she could, held me as I got smaller, as I reversed through development, as I approached the moment of conception, the moment before I'd existed, the threshold between existence and non-existence. She said at some point I was too small to hold, too small to be a person, too small to be anything recognizable, just cells, just biology, just matter reversing through time. The researchers took over then, put what remained of me in a specialized container, kept monitoring, kept documenting, kept watching as the reversal continued, as I got smaller, as my cells divided in reverse, as I approached conception, as I approached the moment I'd cease to exist completely. Karen said they told her it happened at 3:47 in the morning, said the reversal reached its end point, said I reversed past conception, past the moment sperm and egg had united, past the moment I'd begun, said at that point the biological material that had been me simply stopped existing, wasn't destroyed, wasn't transformed, just stopped being there, just ceased to exist, just disappeared as completely as if I'd never been. The researchers said it was instantaneous, said one moment there was biological material, cells, DNA, matter that had been me. The next moment there was nothing, empty space, absence, non-existence, said it violated conservation of mass, violated physical laws, violated everything they understood about reality. But it happened. I disappeared. I reversed out of existence. I was unmade completely. Karen said she felt it. Felt the moment I ceased to exist. Felt a shift, a change, something fundamental about reality that altered when I disappeared. Said it was like a hole opened, like space folded, like the universe adjusted to accommodate the impossibility of what had happened. Said she couldn't explain it, couldn't describe it, just knew that I was gone. Completely, totally. More gone than death, more absent than mortality. Just erased, just unmade, just never been. The researchers kept my DNA samples, kept tissue they'd collected during the reversal, kept trying to understand what had happened, kept trying to figure out the mechanism, kept hoping they could prevent it from happening to someone else, could stop anyone else from receiving that growth factor treatment, could make sure no one else aged backwards, no one else reversed out of existence, no one else got unmade the way I'd been unmade. Karen said she mourned me twice. Once when I started losing my memories, when the father she knew started disappearing into childhood, and again when I ceased to exist, when I reversed past conception, when I was completely erased. She said the second mourning was harder, was more absolute, was more final than any death, because death leaves a body, leaves remains, leaves something to bury, leaves proof that someone existed. But I left nothing, just disappeared, just ceased to be, just was erased from reality as if I'd never been. She said she sometimes wonders if she imagined me, if I was ever real, because there's no body to prove I existed. No remains, no grave, just memories, just records, just documentation of a life that was lived and then was unmade, just evidence of someone who existed and then didn't, just proof of the impossible. Michael helped Karen sort through my things after I was gone, helped her go through my house, my belongings, my possessions, things that had been mine, but that now belonged to no one, because I no longer existed to have owned them, had reversed past the point of ownership, past the point of identity, past the point of being. They found my journals, the ones I'd written during the early years of the reversal, before I'd started losing memories, before I'd become too young to write. They read my thoughts, my fears, my understanding of what was happening, my terror at the implications, my grief at losing myself, my awareness that I was being unmade, that I was disappearing, that I was approaching non-existence. Karen said reading those journals was painful, was like hearing my voice again, like talking to me one more time, like having a conversation with someone who'd ceased to exist. She said the last entry was from when I was biologically 15, was the last time I'd been able to write coherently, the last time I'd had enough memory, enough awareness, enough identity to put words on paper. The last entry said, I'm forgetting who I was, forgetting the life I lived, forgetting Dorothy, forgetting my career, forgetting decades of experiences and memories and identity. Soon I'll forget my children, forget Karen and Michael, forget being a father, forget being an adult, forget being old. I'll just be a child, then an infant, then nothing. I'll disappear completely. I'll be unmade. I'll cease to have existed, and no one will remember the man I was before the reversal, before the impossible, before time ran backwards and erased me. But if you're reading this, if these words survived, know that I was here. I existed. I lived. I was William. I was a father. I was a husband. I was a person. And I was unmade by something that shouldn't be possible, by aging that ran in reverse, by time that moved backward, by biology that violated every rule. Remember me. Remember that I was here, even though I'm gone, even though I ceased to exist. Remember. Karen keeps that journal, keeps all my writings, keeps the photographs, keeps the video recordings, keeps everything that proves I existed, keeps evidence of a life that was lived and then was unmade, keeps records of someone who disappeared so completely that sometimes she questions if I was real, if I existed, if the memories are true, or if she imagined them. The researchers published their final papers about me, about the reversal, about the end point, about someone who aged backwards until they ceased to exist. The papers were reviewed skeptically. Many scientists didn't believe it, couldn't accept it, couldn't reconcile it with known biology, said it was impossible, said it violated physical laws, said it couldn't have happened. But the researchers had evidence, had documentation, had tissue samples, had video recordings, had proof that someone had aged backwards, had reversed through development, had disappeared into non-existence, had been unmade completely. The evidence was undeniable, was documented, was real. Even if it was impossible, the treatment that had caused my reversal was banned. The growth factors, the injection, the procedure that had been done in 1982. Research into it was stopped. Medical facilities were warned. Doctors were educated. No one would receive that treatment again. No one would age backwards. No one would reverse out of existence. No one would be unmade the way I'd been unmade. Karen said she's grateful for that. Grateful no one else will experience what I experienced, what she experienced, what our family experienced. The terror of aging backwards, the grief of watching someone disappear, the impossible loss of someone ceasing to exist. She said if my reversal prevented even one other person from experiencing the same thing, then maybe it meant something. Maybe it had purpose. Maybe my disappearance saved someone else from the same fate. But she also said she misses me, misses her father, misses having me in the world, misses being able to call me, visit me, talk to me, misses the relationship we had before the reversal, before the impossible, before time ran backwards and erased me from existence. She said it's hard to grieve someone who ceased to exist, hard to mourn someone who didn't die but disappeared, hard to process a loss that's more absolute than death, more final than mortality, more complete than any ending should be. Michael said he thinks about me often, thinks about what happened, thinks about the impossibility of it, thinks about how someone can exist and then not exist, can be unmade, can be erased so completely that even the physical evidence of their existence disappears. He said it changed how he thinks about reality, about time, about existence, made him question what's possible, what's real, what the boundaries of reality actually are. The researchers said my case raised profound questions, questions about the nature of time, about the nature of existence, about what happens when biological processes run in reverse, about the relationship between matter and time, about the conservation laws that apparently can be violated, about the boundaries of what's possible in our universe. Said my reversal challenged fundamental assumptions, challenged understanding of biology, challenged understanding of physics, challenged understanding of reality itself. But they also said they were glad it was over, glad no one else would experience it, glad the treatment that caused it was banned, glad they'd learned enough to prevent it from happening again, glad they'd documented everything, glad they had evidence, glad they could warn others, glad they could make sure the impossible that happened to me remained a singular event, an anomaly, an outlier, something that happened once and would never happen again. I went to my doctor for a routine physical and discovered I was aging backwards, discovered my cells were getting younger, discovered time was running in reverse inside my body, discovered I'd keep getting younger until I ceased to exist. And that's exactly what happened. I aged backwards for 32 years, reversed from 70 to infancy, lost my memories, lost my identity, lost my existence, reversed past birth, past conception, past the threshold of being, and then I just wasn't anymore, just ceased to exist, just was unmade, just disappeared so completely that even the atoms that had been me were gone, just erased from reality as if I'd never been. This is my story, told by those who witnessed it, told by those who loved me, told by those who watched me disappear, told because someone needs to tell it, needs to remember, needs to keep evidence that I existed, even though I don't anymore, even though I reversed out of existence, even though I was unmade completely. Remember that I was here. Remember that I was William. Remember that I lived 70 years normally, and then 32 years in reverse. Remember that time ran backwards through my body until I ceased to exist. Remember the impossible. Remember me. Did you like my story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next story with love and respect.